What is corporate governance? It is a process set up for the firms based on certain systems and principles by which a company is governed. The guidelines provided ensure that the company is directed and controlled in a way so as to achieve the goals and objectives to add value to the company and also benefit the stakeholders in the long term. To understand the scope of the legal framework and study the amendments, proxy advisory firms analyze the role of directors and study the changes in the amendments. These proxy firms offer analytical data for the shareholders and some corporate advisory services as well to companies. The objectives of corporate governance. Transparency in corporate governance is essential for the growth, profitability, and stability of any business. With the growing competition in the corporate world, the need for corporate governance has intensified due to rivalry amongst businesses in all economic sectors at the national as well as the international level. The Indian Companies Act of 2013 introduced some progressive and transparent processes which benefit the stakeholders, the directors as well as the management of companies. Investment advisory services and proxy firms provide concise information to the shareholders about these newly introduced processes and regulations, which aims to improve the corporate governance in India. Corporate advisory services are offered by advisory firms to efficiently manage the activities of companies, to ensure stability and growth of the business, maintain the reputation and reliability for the customers and clients. The top management, that consists of the board of directors, is responsible for the governance. They must have effective control over the affairs of the company in the interest of the company and the minority shareholders. Corporate governance ensures strict and efficient application of the management practices, along with legal compliance in the continually changing business scenario in India. The corporate governance was guided by Clause 49 of the Listing Agreement before the introduction of the Companies Act of 2013. As per the new provision, SEBI has also approved certain amendments in the listing agreement so as to improve the transparency in transactions of the listed companies and giving a bigger say to minority stakeholders in influencing the decisions of the management. These amendments have become effective from 1st October 2014. Few new provision for directors and shareholders. One or more lady director in board is recommended in certain classes of companies. Every company in India must have a resident directory. The maximum permissible directors cannot exceed 15 in a public limited company. If more directors have to be appointed, it can be done only with approval of the shareholders after passing a special resolution. The independent directors are a newly introduced concept under the Act. The Code of Conduct is prescribed and so are other functions and duties. The independent directors must attend at least one meeting a year. Every company must appoint an individual or firm as an auditor. The responsibility of the audit committee has increased. Filing and disclosures with the registrar of companies has increased. The top management recognizes the rights of the shareholders and ensures strong cooperation between the company and the stakeholders. Every company has to make accurate disclosure of financial situations, performance, material matter, ownership and governance related party transactions. A related party transaction RPT is the transfer of resources or facilities between a company and another specific party. The company devises policies which must be disclosed on the website and in the annual report. All these transactions must be approved by the shareholders by passing a special resolution as the Companies Act of 2013. Promoters of the company cannot vote on a resolution for a related party transaction. Changes in Clause 35B. The e-voting facility has to be provided to the shareholder for any resolution is illegal, binding for the company. Corporate social responsibility. The company has the responsibility to promote social development in order to return something that is beneficial for the society. Whistleblower policy. This is a mandatory provision by SEBI, which is a vigil mechanism to report the wrong or unethical conduct of any director of the company. Why is corporate governance in India important? A company that has good corporate governance has a much higher level of confidence amongst the shareholders associated with that company. The active and independent directors contribute towards a positive outlook of the company in the financial market and positively influence the share prices. Corporate governance is one of the important criteria for foreign institutional investors to decide on which company to invest in. The corporate practices in India emphasize upon the functions of audit and finances that have legal, moral, and ethical implications for the business and its impact on the shareholders. The Indian Companies Act of 2013 introduced innovative measures to appropriately balance the legislative and regulatory reforms for the growth of the enterprise and to increase foreign investment, keeping in mind international practices. The rules and regulations are measures that increase the involvement of the shareholders in decision making and introduce transparency in corporate governance, which ultimately safeguards the interest of the society and the shareholder. Corporate governance safeguards not only the management, but the interests of the stakeholders as well, and fosters the economic progress of India in the roaring economies of the world.